give you ask you a question?
Yeah, it says it's being live streamed and I'm
Okay, it's being
clicking
weird.
OK.
All right, then we are good. Hold one sec. Alexa, stop. Yes. Okay, here we are. Yeah, we are on there. Okay, yeah, I'll give them like a minute to start joining in, and then we'll get started with our interview. And I'm so excited. I can't wait to be educated today. You have a good weekend so far?
Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, was with some friends last night with my kids and
Okay.
they got to run around. The adults got
Okay.
to talk a little bit. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it
How many
was a
kids
really
you
nice
got?
night. I have two kids.
Okay, too.
Yeah,
Okay, me
they're
too.
yeah, mine are 8 and 5 years old. So,
Oh no,
really
mine
fun
are
ages.
yeah, because mine are 28 and and my daughter be 24 in December. So
Mm.
yeah, you're at a good fun age.
Yeah, we
Okay.
sure are.
Well, okay, well, I'm gonna get started. Good morning, everybody. It is your girl Brandy J. And I'm hoping you all are getting ready for an amazing week next week. Thanksgiving. It is
Mhm.
already holiday season. So that means you're going to be spending a lot of money. So I'm hoping you all are enjoying that. I tell you every Saturday that I thank you all for joining in. You could be anywhere watching if you're watching it now, if you catch the replay. I thank you for always supporting the lab. Make sure to like and share. And today I know we're going to be blessed, but I most definitely want to. This is the first time I've had to do this since I've been doing the lab. One of our lab listeners that's here almost every Saturday, Carissa Morris. It's crazy. On my birthday show, I shared how I did give away on my birthday, and she was one of the names that I picked that won a $25 gift card. And I got some crazy news Thursday. She passed away
Mm.
unexpectedly. So
Oh,
this
I'm
is the
sorry.
first, thank you. This is the first lab member that I lost, but she wasn't just a lab member. Me and her, we went to school together from fifth grade. And now here
Mm.
we are in our 50s, and that's almost 50s. And so she has been a lifelong friend and supporter. So we most definitely want to keep her family and lift it up in prayer. And so with that, I'm going to say a quick prayer. I always start a quick prayer, Dan. Lord, we
Mhm.
just thank you. We thank you for another day. We thank you for life. And so, Lord, today we ask you to bless Dan, to encourage people to get on the right track, give him things to say to encourage and uplift. And Lord, we ask you to keep Carissa family lifted up in prayer. All of her friends, anyone that has been connected to her, we just ask you to send strength. And we just thank you for everything that you have done for the lab, that you're going to do, and that you have done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Mm. Amen.
Amen. So today, Dan, and it is Snyder. I'm pronouncing it right.
Yes, you
Okay,
are.
okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm pronouncing it right. Dan, I always start off my show by giving people their flowers, and it's one of those reasons because you just never know when the last time is going to be the last time. So I just want to thank you for taking time out today to um, help educate our listeners today that's going to hear what you have taken your time to learn and to be willing to share because a lot of times some people get knowledge and they keep it to themselves. So
Mm.
I just thank you for your willing spirit to be on here today at the lab. And so with that, you all, this is Dan. He is it actually a therapist or what?
Mhm.
Okay, he is a therapist. And tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, how you got into this. This is your floor.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on and just the energy we're getting started with.
Mm,
First of all, like so sorry about your loss and
thank you.
absolutely we'll keep the family in my prayers too. And
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. And
Thank you.
so much of what we're going to talk about today is about
Mhm,
relationships
mhm,
and whether it's a friendship,
mhm.
parents and kids,
Yeah.
chosen family, or
Yes.
it's with our intimate partners, our
Mhm,
lovers, our husbands, our
mhm,
wives, our romantic
mhm.
partners. Life is all about relationships and connections. And
Yeah.
that's something that I keep front and center every single day. And that's how I got into the work that I'm doing now. So, like you
Okay.
said, I am a therapist.
Okay.
Primarily, I work with couples. I do work with individuals also, but even in the individuals, in those sessions, we're mostly talking about their relationships. relationships and their
Yeah.
partnerships. I mean, that's for all of us such a core part
Mhm.
about being human.
Right.
Yeah, and I got into this work, from a lifetime of having questions, wanting to improve my own relationships, not having it
Yes.
figured out, still working on things, right? None of us
Right.
being perfect. I am here
Yes.
because I want to educate and I want to share knowledge, but I
Hmm.
also am very much open to hearing from your experiences and sharing
Yes.
stories. And, that's what it is all about, making these kinds of connections. So I've
Yes.
been working as a therapist now for more than 10 years, I think
Okay.
13 or 14 years now. And I've worked with families, with kids, with adults, and now primarily focused on relationships because
Okay.
at my age, my phase of life, right, I transitioned into that when I got married and started my family and got even more curious about relationships because I
Hmm.
found myself in a family and in a partnership and realized, wow, I don't know how to do this, right? I want to
Yeah.
be in connection. I want our intimacy. I want our trust to be really strong, but I didn't have
Mm.
a good model for that growing up.
Okay.
And there are skills, tools, techniques that can
Yeah.
improve those relationships. And I
Hmm.
really approached it just like learning any other skill, like picking up an instrument or going to the gym. Like, I want to learn how to do this step by step.
Hmm. Wow.
And yeah, have applied that to my work over the years.
You just blessed me in that little introduction because you know what, I am divorced,
Mhm.
and learning after the fact what you just said was like a aha moment, because we actually had this conversation after the fact, applying it like it's a tool that you're going to learn, something that you want to
Mhm.
learn. And I feel like a lot of people, we premature because we jump ship before we, it's like you get a job and they tell you you're making $200,000 a year, you're going to learn that job.
Mhm.
You're going to do what it takes to learn that job,
Mhm.
but we don't do relationships like that. I know I haven't been that type. I have admitted before in the past I have been a quitter, and so now I'm in a different place. I'm almost 50 now, so now
Mhm.
I'm like, no, I need to take accountability and learn. So I'm excited. I feel like I'm having an open therapy session with you all with you all today. But and I have to be honest, this was my first. I've been to therapy several times, but
Mhm.
I've never heard anyone call it emotionally focused therapy,
Mhm.
EFT. So let
Mhm.
us know, what is exactly EFT therapy?
Yeah, happy to. So it's another acronym, right? EFT. And
Mm-hmm.
it is very much what it stands for. It's emotionally focused therapy. And it's originally designed for couples, right?
Okay.
So I've also been in and out of therapy myself. I
Okay.
think, as a helper, it's important to do your own work too. So I have very much been in therapy for most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And the background on therapy, how it originally started, the therapist was not really so engaged during the session, a little bit more quiet, letting the client kind of fill the space. And when you're working with a couple, that does not work very well because you're going to watch an argument happen in front of you, right? I've been in couples counseling, maybe you
Yeah,
have too, but
I have.
the worst thing in a couples counseling session is just to have the same argument that you had at home, except this
Uh-huh.
time it's in front of another person.
Oh my
So
gosh.
for couples counseling to be more effective, we have to, as therapists, be more involved in the session. And so emotionally focused therapy is for the therapist a way to get in the middle of that conflict and to
Okay.
teach how to do it differently. So instead
Okay.
of using, you language, you
Mm-hmm.
always do this. You
Mm-hmm.
never do that, right? I'm pointing the finger, I'm blaming, I'm saying what you are doing that's wrong.
Yes.
As a therapist, we want to teach that couple how to tap into their own feelings, their emotions, and express it
Mhm.
with I language.
Okay.
So instead of saying something like, uh, you never get home on time, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
have said that, right? I'm actually
Okay.
divorced too, right? A lot of this
Okay.
comes from learning,
Okay.
after life
Okay.
after. So you never get home on time.
Mhm.
Instead, in emotionally focused therapy, I want to help that person tap into what's the feeling that you have in that
Mhm.
moment. Is it sadness? Is it longing? Is it stress? What is it? And how can we share that in a different kind of way? Something like,
Mhm.
I'm stressed at home because I'm getting dinner ready and I miss you. I'm really looking forward to when you get home. Totally different conversation. Now the
Totally
other
different.
person understands, like, oh, okay, you're not mad at me. We're not like
Mhm.
battling back and forth. My partner
Mhm.
misses me. They're stressed out.
Mhm.
And so now we can have a totally different kind of interaction between the two people. And so
Yeah.
that's a little taste of what, when we tap into our emotions in therapy, we can really change the relationship.
Oh my God. I mean, and that is so true because I was just talking to a friend earlier this week and they need some emotional therapy for sure. But I felt like in that situation, the delivery made him be defensive. Her concerns, the way she delivered it, he had a right to be defensive. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I have learned that it's all in how we say a thing. You can say it, but an example, just hypothetically, I get a flat tire. And if I'm like, you need to go out there and check my tire, instead of saying, babe, I'm about to leave. I'll feel so much better if you go check my tire before I go, because I want to make sure the wheel's not going to fall off. Just an example.
Mhm.
I feel like it's the delivery, and that probably make him want to feel like, let me go because she's going to feel safer instead of me demanding.
Absolutely. Yeah, because
Okay.
you're connecting there,
Mm-hmm.
I would feel so much better. Who doesn't want their partner to feel so much better, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
great example.
Okay, yeah, well, thank you. That was one about there. Okay, so let's see. So, why do you think so many relationships struggle with this connection, even when there is love there?
Mm, yeah. No, so a lot of the work that I'll do in sessions is,
Mm-hmm.
and again, a little bit different from how people think about therapy, right? We will talk about our past, about
Mm-hmm.
our childhoods, our attachment. We
Mm-hmm.
will go into some of that, but a lot of what's
Mm-hmm.
different in couples therapy and in the work that I do is trying to bring actions, right? What is the thing that we can do differently?
Okay.
So to love somebody, I'll say is, that's very action based. How
Mm-hmm.
are we showing that love? We can
Mm-hmm.
feel it, we can say it, but if I tell you I love you and then I'm staying on the couch, I'm not going to check that tire for you. Am I
Right.
showing that love, right? So what's the
Exactly.
action?
And yes,
So yeah,
yes.
every day I want couples to think about how am I showing that love today?
Wow.
Not a year
Mm-hmm.
ago, not last
Yes.
month, but right here today. Did I,
Mm-hmm.
go up to my partner and give them a big hug, right? Did I
Mm-hmm.
tell them how much I appreciate the thing that I noticed them doing
Mm-hmm.
earlier?
Yeah.
How am I outwardly
Yeah.
demonstrating that love? And those things build on each other. One of
Yeah.
my favorite they're a couple who've been together forever. They're like the foremost researchers in couples therapy and in relationships. John and Julie Gottman. They've got a ton of books out. And in their research, one of the things that they have found is that couples who have at least a 5-to-1 ratio of positive things done for the other person, said to the other person,
Mm,
for every one time that they're critical or negative, those are the couples that last the longest, that
okay.
feel the most satisfaction and contentment in their relationship. So we
Mm-hmm.
really have to have at least 5 points of connection, loving actions, things
Mm-hmm.
said to every one time that it's something critical or negative for us to be in balance.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And it was something, and I got my pen because it was something as you were saying, just the kind thing, the words, because thank you goes a long way. because
Mhm.
I think a lot of times when we get so used to each other, you kind of take each other for granted. And it's
Yes.
almost like that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to fix my plate. You're supposed to pay the bills. And it's like, no, baby, thank you. The mortgage is paid. Well, thank you. And I think a lot of times you feel underappreciated.
Hmm.
And so like you said, that balance of the positive and the negative thing right there probably really
Hmm.
goes a long way. And I said I wanted to tell you, your voice is so calm. I would probably be in therapy crying.
Yeah, yeah. No, the therapy voice, right? Yeah, it
I'm
comes
like,
on.
I don't
Yeah.
even say anything. I feel like I want to cry. I remember when I
Uh,
first started going to therapy, I had got an older man one time, and as soon as I would come in, he would sit the Kleenex down because he knew I was gonna cry. Then one day he did it, and he said, "You used the Kleenex today," but I want to let you know you got a real
oh,
calm voice in
thank you.
going on. You're welcome. Okay, so what are the most common cycles couples get stuck in that EFT helps identify and break? What would you say
Mhm.
one of the most common cycles?
Yeah. So the name of actually my signature program, right? I have a 12-week program for couples that I named the Intimacy Shift. People can check
Mm-hmm.
it out at intimacyshift.com. But the
Okay.
reason that I named it that is because over the course of our relationship, we have these shifts that happen, right? And it affects our emotional intimacy, trust, and connection. It affects our physical intimacy, sex, and passion. And so some of the most common cycles where those shifts happen that I've seen are when we go from, dating to then living together, right? Big change in the
That's a big
relationship.
shift.
Lots of
Yes.
things are going to come up there. When we
Yes.
go from having no kids to having one or more kids, of course,
Mm-hmm.
big change. And then we're going to see conflicts happen around parenting style,
Oh,
around, working hours, finances, sex and
mm-hmm.
intimacy, right?
Yes.
And of course, when kids leave the home and then, now we're back
Mm-hmm.
to the two of us
An
and
empty
now we're not
nester.
distracted by all the activities and all the things. Now, wait a minute, who's this person living with me? They're not the
Mm-hmm.
same person that they were 15, 20 years ago. So how
Yeah.
do we connect now as these totally different people? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so in those different shifts, there's all kinds of different conflicts that will happen. Um, in most two people relationships, there's usually one person that's more of the pursuing person, the person that maybe has more anxious energy, wants to address this thing, wants to address that thing.
Oh
This
my
needs to
gosh.
change. I've got to bring this up. I can't wait to talk about it. And usually, one
Mm-hmm.
person that's a little bit more withdrawn and avoidant, they don't ever want to talk about it. It can wait. They're not wanting to rock the boat or have a conflict. And so
Yes.
we can put really any situation into that, and there's going
Mm-hmm.
to be a conflict because it's very different energy.
Oh my
So
God.
those are some of the conflicts and patterns that I see working with couples.
Oh my God, I love you already. I promise you, I do because that is something that I had to study on my attachment style.
Hmm.
And when you said the anxious attachment, I'm the anxious attachment. I need
Hmm.
clarity. I need conversation right there. And I was married to an
Hmm.
avoidant
Hmm.
and we clashed. We clashed, and I was telling one of my kids, I was like, you need to learn your attachment style. I'm like,
Hmm.
it's so important because then you know how you can make that person feel when you understand when you all are night and day. Of course, I didn't know that at the time, but I
Hmm.
understand now with that type of attachment style. So I like that. I like you, Dad. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
Somebody else
when we
go
know
ahead.
better, we can do better once we know better, right? And good
Yeah.
for you for doing that work. You didn't repeat the same thing in your next
Mhm.
relationship. You
Yes.
made a choice. Like, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna work on
Mhm.
it. And probably even today, I'm sure you still have moments where there is that anxious energy. And I know for me, there are still those moments. I'm more of an avoider, more of a
Oh
withdrawer,
Lord.
where I
Okay.
will have that instinct of like, I don't want to talk about this thing.
Okay. Hmm.
But now I'm better at recognizing it and doing it differently because I want a different outcome. I don't want it to go the same way.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm about to be very transparent on here. So one of my exes and I, we actually tried to spin the block for a season after divorce. We tried to figure it out.
Mhm.
And I still have anxious attachment, but I showed up very different with my reactions and different things with that. But then I seen a lot of his attachment style, his avoidant attachment was probably worse because we went through a divorce, but then it's like, why are we trying to figure this out again? And with that, what you said, with me going to therapy, with me doing the work, I wanted to be more patient. I wanted to be more understanding and all of that. Once I learned how anxious attachment can get on somebody's nerves, honestly. It really
Mhm.
can because it comes
Mhm.
off insecure. It can
Mhm.
come off insecure or a lot of
Mhm.
self-doubt. When it's not that, you just need that extra reassurance. Now, sometimes it can be,
Mhm.
but sometimes you need that. What are some of the signs of avoidant attachment? Okay, we got questions in the thing over here. So somebody
Okay.
said, what are some of the signs of avoidant attachment?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and not every time, right? Not every
Mm-hmm.
time, but a lot of the time in a male-female relationship, more often women will tend to look more anxious, men will
Okay.
tend to look more avoidant. It's not every
Mm-hmm.
time, but typically, and I'll say this as a man because it's true for me, like not really learning how to know what I'm feeling, how to share what I'm feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and not getting that practice, right? Because as men, there's so much cultural weight and baggage around having feelings that we
Yes.
don't tend to do it, and then we end up
Mm-hmm.
in these relationships, and how can we really be in relationship if we're not sharing our feelings? It's
If
not
you're
going to
not
work very
sharing your
well.
feelings.
And so
Right.
being avoidant will often look like shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sharing my feelings. Everything's
Mm-hmm.
fine. It's okay. Leave me alone. I need space. Those are all really just classic signs of
Mm-hmm.
avoidance. And if it's not shut down or quiet, it can also come off as irritability, grumpiness.
Mm-hmm.
And there's feelings underneath that. They are there, but uh, prying, trying to dig, asking repeatedly, it's just gonna kind of put more of a wall up. And I think that's what you're describing, right? You're looking for
Yeah.
that reassurance. And the
Mm-hmm.
more you look for reassurance, the more I'm behind my wall
Mm-hmm.
and we're both stuck, right? We can be in the
Yeah.
same room and feel miles apart. So
Mm-hmm.
those are things that are signals of avoidance where we don't want to talk about our feelings, we're shut down, withdrawn, maybe not picking up our phone, taking a long walk. Like now I'm out of the house. Like you can't get to me because I'm not here for a while.
Right.
Those are
And I
all
left my
signs.
phone on the counter.
Yeah, yeah.
So someone said, can both people be avoidant? Yeah.
They absolutely can be. Yeah, we can
Mm-hmm.
have different
Mm-hmm.
combinations of this too. We can also have both people anxious. We can have both
Mm-hmm.
people be avoidant. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so different kinds of strategies to try to work on those things. So if both people in the relationship are more avoidant, we want to create kind of safety for both people. And so in a session or if I'm teaching skills, I'm going to really try to get both people just take those baby steps to identifying their feelings just a little
Mm-hmm.
bit at a time. We don't
Mm-hmm.
want to overwhelm. We don't want to kind of scare the other person away. If we come in too hot, too excited, right? Like this
Yeah.
big energy of like, oh, we're going to connect, we're going to share our feelings, that's going to push them a bit farther away. So it
Yeah.
does need to be a softer approach,
Mm-hmm.
making sure the other person has lots of time, has lots of space to be
Mm-hmm.
able to, just like a little bit at a time share their feelings.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think over time, me personally, like I said, I know I'm anxious attachment originally, But I think over time, once you are kind of, let's see, kind of rejected or your
Hmm.
feelings aren't validated, then I picked up a little avoidant in me,
Hmm.
meaning, so I'm not talking to you about this. I'm not, but that's not really who I am. I really want to talk about it, but because of once you're in toxic, because it's toxic, once you're in toxic situations so long, it can make you pick up some of those traits, which really might not be who you are.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. What you're describing makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
We are human beings, right? So if we're shut down, rejected,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to, yeah, put our own defenses up to protect ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of the work that couples have to do to repair these things is, we need to build some successes. Because if we haven't had success in the relationship talking about things and feeling safe and comfortable, we're both going to retreat. We're going to stop trying over time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, we can end up either separated or divorced or feeling like roommates, right? Instead
Mm-hmm.
of lovers in the same house. And
Mm-hmm.
so, a couple of the things that I will teach and encourage couples to do in my intimacy shift program is number one, to set up a time during the week to talk and to work on your relationship. And that's number one, showing we're on the same team. We both want to work on things in the relationship and we're
Yeah.
going to commit to,
Mm-hmm.
each week, let's say, setting aside a time. Just like, again, any skill, right? If we wanted to learn an instrument, we wanted to get physically
Mm-hmm.
stronger, you've got to put in the time. So
Mm-hmm.
that shows both people are wanting to work on it.
Yeah.
And for this anxious and avoidant part of it, um, typically for someone that is more anxious, more has that
Mm-hmm.
like pursuing energy, they could talk every single day, right? Like once a
Right.
week
Every
is
day.
not very much. Like I've got 50 things that I want to talk about. And so
Right.
we've got to like slow
Balance.
down a little bit with that
Yeah.
person. Like let's just
Yeah.
set one time. And for the other
Mhm.
person who could be like, I could talk never. I could talk once a year.
Oh my
Like we've
God.
got to move them to like a little bit more often.
Boy.
So this is a way
Okay.
a meet in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. So let's see. No, I said, okay, they're writing comments on here. Okay, so they're asking, what role does our childhood have to do with our attachment style? How important does our childhood, affect our
Hmm.
attachment style?
Yeah, yeah. So two important things. Your attachment style is kind of wired and set up
Mm-hmm.
from birth, right? From your early stages, but it's not fixed for your whole life. It can
Mm-hmm.
change
Mm-hmm.
and it can really change by in the things we're talking about in a healthy relationship with another person. That's how it can change the most. But
Okay.
it is really established early in life. So
Mm-hmm.
for anybody out there that's listening that's had kids, right? Like the way that you connect with that child early on influences their attachment style.
Wow.
So kids who are, held, loved on, laughed with, they cry and they're immediately soothed and taken care of, that can create a more secure and healthy attachment because that baby, that child knows when I need something, when I'm distressed, I'm going to be taken care of by the person that loves me, right? That
Mm-hmm.
caregiver, parent. Um, Children who were not soothed or taken care of right away,
Mm-hmm.
they can develop either that more avoidant or that more anxious attachment because their needs are not being met. And so I'll say, like in my own childhood, I grew up in a household that was pretty unpredictable and chaotic. So
Yes.
I had a dad who could be very volatile. He could also be very shut down. It was very hot or cold. And we didn't
Mm-hmm.
know how he was going to come home, what kind of
Yeah.
mood it was going to be in. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I really learned I have to take care of myself a lot of the time, and I can't rely on my parents being there for me emotionally because it was chaotic, right? It was scary a lot of
Mm-hmm.
those times. And so that's a bit where my avoidance came up and came from. And so again, it's not fixed forever. Some of that played out in my relationships. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not perfect either.
yeah,
But
we
the
are
more
human.
that I've learned over time and the more that I've been able to change how I show up in relationships and to be in
Hmm.
relationships with other people that are also working on themselves, then
Yes.
that can change. And when you're with a
Hmm.
person that you can trust, that when you need something, when you ask for something, they'll show up
Hmm.
for you. You
Hmm.
become less avoidant, less
Okay.
anxious over time because you can trust that person and really heal and change that part of you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. And like you said, when you get in relationship with someone that's willing to work on, I told you I'm taking notes, that's willing to
Mhm.
work on themselves, because if you're with somebody that think they have it already figured out and I don't need therapy, I don't need any help, you just listen to what I say, it's like it makes you more anxious. And
Yeah.
what is that? What is that? What is the scripture? My sister, she's on here. She's a first lady. What is it? Is it perfect love casts out fear, or it's a scripture that's like that? And I just feel like when you're not in those type of situations, it can bring more fear in a relationship, especially if you
Mhm.
meet somebody that's that avoidant attachments that who start off with a bad childhood. Let me say that, because I've also learned my dad pastored for 40 years. So I came from my parents be married, I think 59 years next year.
Mhm.
But I've also learned just because you're in the same house with both parents does not mean it's a perfect
Mhm.
environment. And don't get me wrong, we didn't have a bad environment like that, but he was a new pastor at the time. So a lot of his energy and focus was the church.
Mhm.
So it was still things missed at home because he was busy building and babying that situation. So left a lot for my mom to work and try to be there for five children by herself a lot, because it was still a void there. And so I think that's where some of the attachments can come from. So, some people think, oh, you had both of your parents, but I'm like, it doesn't mean it was perfect because you had both parents in the household.
No, it certainly doesn't. And everybody's allowed their own experience, right? So
Hmm.
we can compare ourselves, and you've probably heard this expression, compare and despair,
Right.
right?
Right.
Comparison
Yes.
is the thief of
This,
joy,
but yes,
right?
it is. Yes, it
Yeah, there
is.
are
It
there are
is.
and so yeah, other people had different childhoods, could have been
Mm-hmm.
harsher in some ways, better in other ways, but your
Mm-hmm.
experience was your own, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody listening has their own experience. And if we're
Mm-hmm.
comparing, then we're gonna kind of minimize our own feelings,
Yes.
and that
Yes.
doesn't that doesn't help, right?
Yeah, the worst thing is to have to shrink in a situation,
Mhm.
for sure. Okay, so someone said, what advice would you give to a couple that has been married for 36 years? I don't know if they're like, that's just a question. So they're not saying like good or
Yeah.
bad. They just said, what advice would you give a couple that's been married for 36 years?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations. 36
Yes,
years
isn't
is
it
a
beautiful?
long time, and I know that they have been through all sorts of ups and downs and changes
Yes,
along the way.
yes.
Um, so yeah, I would guess that with 36 years in, they
Hmm.
have been through a lot and have tried different things at different times to work on
Hmm.
whatever was happening in that moment. And
Hmm.
without knowing more about the couple, the biggest thing that I want for people in relationships to think about is, again, that day-to-day aspect of, how are we showing up today in the relationship? Today, are we connected or are we feeling disconnected? There's
Hmm.
usually not an in between, right? In
Okay,
relationships, either we're feeling close to the other person or more distant.
that's
And
true.
so one day at a time, I try to focus on, how did I show up to connect with the other
I
person?
love that. I love that.
Did I, again, reach out my hand, to give their hand a squeeze, let them know I'm
Hmm.
here? Did I
Hmm.
ask them about their day and truly
Hmm.
listen in that moment? So
Yeah.
much of the time we ask a question in passing, right? I didn't even stick
Hmm.
around for the answer. I asked and I'm already in the other room.
Right.
So just, yeah, in that moment, taking it like, how am I showing up to connect? Being
Hmm.
present with my attention, with my body and with my
Hmm.
words.
Yes. Where are you located at?
I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
Asheville. I was trying to put you in my pocket.
Uh,
I need to get that for you. Your voice is so calm. If I was with somebody with your voice, I would just be like, yes, babe. Your voice is on. I'm gonna take a good nap after this, but I feel so
Oh my
peaceful right now.
goodness. Well, thank you. Yeah, yeah. No, I
I feel so
just
peaceful.
trying to slow down and just make sure
Mhm.
I'm sharing in a way people can hear me. I appreciate the feedback. My kids would just they'll roll their eyes when I use that tone of voice with them. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
appreciate
it's
it.
perfect. It's perfect. They laugh down here. They say so true. Yeah, girl, I'm taking a good nap. It's so true. Okay, so grief
Mm-hmm.
with emotional focus therapy. How do you handle people walking through grief?
Mm, yeah. So coming back again to that idea of that present moment, right? So with grief, we can push it down, we can push it away. It's going to come out later. It's going to come out
Mm.
sometime.
Yes, it is.
And again, me being more of an avoider, right? Even as a therapist, even doing this work, there are times where my instinct is to push things down and push it away. But I know after doing that enough times and it coming out another way, it's worse if I let it sit and then I lash out at somebody, which is usually what happens with me. And so, with grief, we're trying to find ways to share that feeling in a healthier way, right?
Mhm.
And so another expression that I love. I've got a lot of different expressions today, but this
Share
is
us.
one. So um, let's see if I can get it right. So it is yeah, joy shared doubles the joy, sorrow shared cuts the sorrow in half. And
Mm.
so if we're holding on to that grief and sorrow all by ourselves,
Mm.
it's twice as big, right? If we can share
Yes,
it in some kind of way, we can cut it in half. So
I love
couples that are struggling with grief, we have to find ways to be able to share it. Sometimes that's writing it down in a journal. It may not even be sharing it directly with another person, but I'm getting it outside of my body, right? I'm getting those feelings out in some kind of healthy way.
that.
So
Hmm.
writing it down can be helpful. Often we don't need words with our partner. Sometimes we just need to be held or to
Hmm.
hold. And in
Hmm.
a relationship where it's safe to ask for that, sometimes we're in conflict. It doesn't feel safe to ask for these things, which is a different thing we can talk about. But couples dealing with grief, finding ways to ask the other person, you know, I need to be held right now. I may not need words. I don't need a solution, right? You don't have to fix my problem, but I need to be
Hmm.
held or I need to hold you for a little
Or I
while.
need some good sex. I'm just silly, but yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's another way of being
Yeah,
held.
that's
Absolutely.
what
And
they said. Right.
we can totally go there.
Yeah.
No, that's I mean, when we're in a relationship, sex and closeness, I
Yes.
mean, that's what a great way to process any kind of feeling. And then
Right. I
on
know
the
that's
other
right.
side, we're feeling different. You
Yes.
bet.
Yes. Yes, we are. Somebody asked over here, are you married now?
Yeah, so I'm not married right now. So I've
Okay.
been divorced for a few years and I'm in
Okay.
a wonderful relationship with a partner. We've been together for a couple of years now, but not
Okay.
married at the
Not
moment.
married. Okay. Okay. So y'all got your answer. He's not married right now. Okay. So let's see. What breaking moments do you think? Okay. So what is a breakthrough moment that you've seen in therapy that really stuck with you? Like, wow, we accomplished something today.
Oh yeah. So my favorite moments in therapy. So often the if I'm doing a couple session, the two people are looking at me. They're like, Dan, let me tell you what happened.
Hmm.
And especially when they're in conflict, they're looking at me and they're saying, well, he did this, right? Or
Hmm.
she said that, and they're telling me about it.
Yeah.
And I know that breakthrough moment when they turn away from looking at me, they turn towards each other, and one
Hmm.
person reaches their hand out, puts their hand on the other person's shoulder, and they start
Hmm.
talking to each other.
Okay.
And then it's babe, I'm really struggling right now. I'm sorry that I did this, right? Like the babe, honey, that
Hmm.
changes and they're talking to each other and that physical connection, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, and we like you said, good sex, right? We can talk about
Yes.
sex too, but even just that touch, right?
Yes.
That's so meaningful. So that's that
Yes.
breakthrough moment that I look for in the session. They go
That
from
is
talking
awesome.
about the other person
Yeah.
to the other person.
Especially just talking at each other.
Hmm.
instead of saying, like you said, something like, well, I'm sorry, or I wasn't trying to do that. And a lot of times you just never know how much you help a wall when you can speak like that. I know I'm a sucker for that, because I'm easy to apologize. And then I'm a person, and it's almost like what I do at work. If I mess up on something and you had to correct me on it, I do my hardest not to have that issue again. Now, I might do something else. I'm gonna have to learn something else. But 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna have to call me to aside for that. And so I'm very intentional with that in a relationship. I remember one time my ex had let me know when I come home from work, I don't like, when you go into another room and watch TV, I want us to sit and talk. And I was like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I thought, you might need to decompress and have some me time. But if that's not what you want when you come in, hey, I'm here for it. I can talk, you know? And
Hmm.
so he never had to question that again. So I'm very intentional when it comes to when you speak and you let me know what it is that you desire. And I think if we've done that a lot more, then people will feel seen and heard.
Hmm.
And feelings validation is so important to me. It's so important to me. Okay, so how does EFT help rebuild trust and safety after betrayal and emotional distance?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So such a hard situation to be in. So
Mm-hmm.
number one, like there's not a quick fix, right? We can't just snap our fingers and rebuild
Yeah.
trust after betrayal. So I
Yes.
absolutely want to validate like what a challenging situation to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even when we are able to repair, to rebuild some of that trust, there are going to be triggers that come up. There's
Mm-hmm.
going to be days where you have a reminder of something and it feels like you went right back to where you were. So that's just the reality of just being a person, right?
Yeah.
Fragile people with feelings. Like there's not a quick solution to all that. But if both people are wanting to rebuild and to repair and the damage has stopped, right? Number one, stop the bleeding.
Stop
Like
the bleeding. My
we've
God.
got to rebuild from a place that, all right, no more damage being done.
Yes.
Yeah. And then with emotionally focused therapy, like that validation piece that you just brought up is
Mm-hmm.
central to that. So we have
Mm-hmm.
to be able to have empathy, validation to understand the other person's feelings. In
Mm-hmm.
some kind of way, we've got to work to let the other person know that we see the damage that we've caused. We understand that pain, and the
Yes.
person who has been hurt really needs that first. You know,
Yeah. Oh
both
my
both
God.
people have feelings, and I'll hear that
Yes.
often of like, well, okay, maybe I'm the one that betrayed the trust. I
Mm-hmm.
acted out in some way, but I did that because, right? And they have
Mm-hmm.
all their reasons and all their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of it, but
Mm-hmm.
they can't go first if they're the ones that did the hurting.
Come
And
on.
I hear it, and
Yes.
that's the way that it works. Both people's feelings matter, but we have to go one at a time. And the person who's been
Mm-hmm.
betrayed, right, if they're
Mm-hmm.
the victim of, cheating or infidelity or some kind of big betrayal and broken trust, we have to have understanding and validation for what that did to them before we
Mm-hmm.
can then look at the other person's feelings and get to the root of whatever happened, because there is a root somewhere. There's a reason. There's a choice that was made, and there's
Mm-hmm.
feelings there, but we can't get at that before the other person's feeling validated, seen, and understood that the other person knows the damage that they caused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is, oh my God, I love that. So, and I get that. I agree with that 100%. So while you're in that moment of the person that's been betrayed, because a lot of times once one person has been betrayed, sometimes it's not an intentional get back, but it might be a get back or it's a reaction. Let me put it that
Hmm.
way. I always say, your action created my reaction. So
Hmm.
now we're both hurt, or we're both disappointed. I always say that. I was like, I've been disappointed. We're both disappointed. And
Hmm.
yes, the first person did the thing. So how do you handle the person who did it while you're trying to focus on the one that was hurt originally? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So, um, if we're a team, right? Team
Mm-hmm.
relationship, right? It's two individuals, but if we're
Mm-hmm.
we're a team and a partnership, then
Mm-hmm.
the best way for the team to get
Come
out of
on,
this
team.
situation, to move forward, you know, that's the best way. We've got to care for this person on the team. And that's an important job for both people. Like,
For
yes,
both
your
people.
feelings are important, and the
Mm-hmm.
best way to get your feelings addressed is to help, the other person on the team right now. And we will get to the other person's feelings. There's that kind of trust that's happening, in therapy or in that 12-week program that I mentioned, the intimacy shift, right? After betrayal or infidelity, there is certainly a shift in intimacy. And so that's a big part of that program, how I'm teaching to build trust. And a lot of it comes from this idea, if we do address one person's feelings first, we will get to the other person's. Because so much of conflict in relationships comes from this place of one person not feeling seen, right? The other person, you don't care about me, you don't take care of me, and so I acted out in this kind of way. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the only way to repair that, though, is for us to work on one person's feelings at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think if you had been, I think my marriage would have been saved.
Well,
I really do. I really do. Because I think in that moment, like you said, it's a reason. And so just say if somebody's angry or have a temper or whatever, it's a reason why it's
mhm,
there. And a lot of times it could come from childhood or it could come from disappointment relationships up to this
mhm,
point. It's a reason. I didn't have the tools to dig into that. At that time, I was just like, flight. So what you're saying, I can see how this can save a relationship if both people are willing to do the work, because one
mhm.
person can't still stay guarded because you done effed up, and then now, no, I'm not talking to you, got to wait to this or that. No, if they both sit down and do this EFT, then the relationship could probably be saved.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? Both people. Because,
Mm-hmm.
sadly there are situations where, the hurt keeps happening, right? Or one person says that they wanted to get better, but their actions don't show it. And
Wow.
sometimes we have to take people, at face value, and if they're not willing to do the work and they keep acting in harmful ways, then we may not be able to trust them and to rebuild. And
Wow.
it is sad when that happens, right? That's not what we wanted out of the relationship at all. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell a person that's in a toxic, abusive relationship. And if there is repeated betrayals and broken trust, then sometimes we can't be in a healthy relationship with that person. So that does happen. I don't want to
Yeah.
give anybody kind of false belief that like any
Yeah.
situation can be
Because, right.
resolved,
I
right?
agree.
Like it does
Yeah.
take two people really
Two
showing
people.
up and being honest and willing to address, their pattern or the thing that happened and
Mm-hmm.
to change.
Yeah. And the key word is change. Because you can't tell me sorry and then 2 months from now you're doing the exact same thing. And then you tell me sorry again for the exact same thing. And then here you are. So I
Hmm.
think the change is what really is probably what sticks with people.
Hmm.
So let's see, what's one thing couples can start today to create more emotional connection? If a couple was starting today, what would you suggest?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I think about emotional connection, right, again, it's like those actions, right? So I'm glad that you're asking me for like, what can we do? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I like to lead by example, right? I love to get compliments. I love to hear about the
Mm-hmm.
things I'm doing well. And often the
Mm-hmm.
best way for me to hear those things is to lead by example and to say that
Oh,
to the other person. So I want
yeah.
to catch the other person doing something right. It could be
Mm-hmm.
anything. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be like, oh, thank you for you know, being here this morning while I woke up. It was really nice to have you here with me.
Not even putting the
And
toilet
all
seat
they did
down.
was they just woke up in the morning, right? They were just
Right.
there,
Like
but
thank
I
you for
could
putting the
thank them for
toilet
it.
seat down. I didn't fall in the toilet
Yeah.
this morning. It's little,
Yeah.
but you remember that this aggravates her. So yeah, it's little things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But we said it out loud. We noticed that,
Mm-hmm.
and that does have a ripple effect on the day. It absolutely builds over time. Or
Wow.
inviting somebody to something, right? Inviting them to, hey, come on over here and sit next to me, right? Or
Yes.
hey, let's do this together today. And the other person may say no, they may not be able or want to in that moment. But you putting yourself out there, expressing yourself it's a bid for connection, for closeness.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you explain the difference between talking to fix it and talking to connect?
Yeah, yeah. So this is also something that I could have used in some of my past relationships. But
Okay.
I had a client teach me this one. I didn't have like a good way of saying it, and they came up
Mm-hmm.
with this like you can say to your partner or think to your partner, do I need a toolbox or do I need a
Mm-hmm.
garbage can, right? Or do you
Okay.
need me to be a
Mm-hmm.
toolbox right now, or do you need me to be a garbage can? So in
Yes.
other words, like, do you just want to like vent your feelings and like
Uh-huh.
throw things into this garbage can?
Okay.
Do you want a
Mm-hmm.
toolbox? Do you want me to fix it?
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it's
write
just
that
like a
down. Two
short
box
little
of
quick
garbage
one.
can.
And
Yeah. Two
and
box.
so often, right? Like one first and then the other. Like I want to vent my feelings for a while and then we can
Uh-huh.
work on fixing it. But if you jump in to try to fix it before I've like really gotten my feelings out, like I'm
Uh,
not gonna feel good about it. So
right.
yeah, yeah.
I like that. The two box of garbage can. It is a difference.
Hmm.
Yeah, it really is. It is a difference. I like that. So let's see. What does life after this connection look? Okay, yeah. So what does life after this connection look for couples who choose to do the work?
Okay. So for couples that have been feeling disconnected and do the
And then they
work,
start doing the work.
yeah.
What does that look like? I know it's
Mm.
a process. It's not going to be a one session thing.
No, but again, small steps, right? So each day, each session, I want couples to have an idea or something that they can practice so that they feel more connected that day. So yeah, I try not to think about like it's all going to change overnight, but if we can stack small wins, baby steps over time, that makes a big difference. So every day, I mentioned this earlier, how can we move towards connection instead of farther apart to disconnection? So for couples that have been disconnected and are doing the work, it can absolutely look like, that day, oh, I noticed something they did right today instead of the 10 things they did wrong. That
Mm-hmm.
shift, right, that we've been talking
Mm-hmm.
about from catching the other person doing something right, that has a big ripple effect because you may not have noticed them doing anything right in a while, right? When
Yeah,
we're hurt,
right.
like everything is bad all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And so, yeah, that internal shift of like, I'm going to look for something positive helps me
I
feel
like
closer
that.
connected. And I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of different couples who, for all kinds of different reasons, have not felt physically connected either. We've been talking, a lot about the emotional connection and trust, but it works together with physical closeness.
Yeah.
Couples that aren't cuddling, aren't kissing, aren't having sex, like their
Mm-hmm.
emotional closeness isn't going to feel good either. So the
Mm-hmm.
other thing that life after can look like is, we enjoy touch again. And maybe it's been a long time since we felt comfortable and safe being naked together, or inviting the other person to cuddle or to kiss or to touch. And yeah, we can rediscover that joy, right? No matter
Yeah.
how long we've been together,
Hmm.
there's absolutely novelty and excitement that we can find being physically intimate with the other person. So I want that for my couples too. That's such a huge part of the goodness of being in a relationship.
Yeah, because you don't want it to feel like a chore.
Hmm.
Like, come on, get it so you can get your rocks off and, leave and go out the room. You don't want it to feel like that. But I think
Hmm.
all those other things have to connect because for me to be physical and you gonna really enjoy it, I need to be stimulated mentally. I need to make sure I do feel safe. You can't just call me out my name and then think, you should just get some good intimacy. So I think what we do outside of that arena or whatever really can affect how we do connect and touch after that.
Yeah. Totally agree. And I hear that most often from women, and I want to bring the men into that too, because for men too, it is
Mhm.
much better when all of those other things connect too. Not all sex is the same. And
Yeah,
so the more that the men are feeling loved, safe, trusted, and that table
desired.
is set really nicely, it's going to feel better for both people.
Yeah, yeah, because I talk to a lot of guys and they'll share like in their relationship they don't feel desired or it's kind of
Mhm.
like they're just a thing to get off. But I'm learning from some of my older men that it's emotionally important for you all too.
That's right.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
always
you
think that.
wouldn't know it,
Right.
kind of talking to men or growing up here in America,
Yeah.
but it's a well-kept secret that
Hmm.
I want us to be talking about more because it is
Yeah.
absolutely true. And yeah.
Dan, this hour has went by. I'm sitting up here thinking already we need to do a after midnight show or something. Your voice is so amazing. You have been, I am so glad we sat down and done this. So I want to ask you a couple of things. Now, do you take insurance? What's that? Is it the EFT or whatever, like through insurance company? Do you accept that?
Yeah, so to work with me as a therapist, I am licensed in 4 different states. So it's a
Okay.
state by state basis. So if you
Okay.
live in Illinois, Colorado, Florida, or North Carolina, you can work with me as a therapist because that those are places I've lived, places that I'm licensed.
Okay.
And you can connect with me, anybody, anywhere on intimacyshift.com. If you leave your email address, you're going to immediately connect with me, get an email with a free PDF 12-page guide with my 6 steps to having really healthy, intimate conversations with your partner. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that I use with all the people I work with. You'll get it free. You'll be able to connect with me. And wherever you live, doesn't have to be in one of those 4 places. My Intimacy Shift program that I've mentioned a few times, it's an educational program. It happens online, so you can be anywhere in the country. And in that place, it's more education and it's learning these tools and techniques. So it's not therapy. And I like it differently than therapy because therapy people can do for years, right? It can be this really long process. This 12-week program is really focused on the skills, the practices, what to do from week to week to go from conflict to connection. So any of your listeners can get access to that too.
Okay.
And the first step is at intimacyshift.com to connect with me to learn all about that.
Okay. Tell the people where they can follow you at on social media.
So I'd say, again, like go to intimacyshift.com first.
Okay.
Don't follow me on social media first.
Okay.
Go to the website because that way you'll get that guide. And that's
Shift.com.
the thing I want your listeners to have access to right away. And
Okay.
on there you'll see my other links and other kinds of content, but I want
Okay.
to make sure that they get that tool first.
Okay. Well, Dan, I want to do this again. It's not always too many guests that I want to be like, I like when you say, mm, yeah, that's before each thought. I picked that up. I was like, okay, when he gets ready to turn that switch on, he says, Yeah, it lets me know you're listening. So
Mhm.
I like that. I like the people on here saying, I love him. I love it. This is a great talk show for everyone, Brandy. They're on Facebook talking. I thank you so much now today for
Mhm.
taking your time out and speaking to the people. And you're just so wise. I love it. And I love when we learn from our disappointments or our mistakes, the ones that given to us or the ones that we create ourselves. And so I like that. Yeah, I like you. I'm most definitely going to be in touch. So I just thank you so much for taking your time out today. I'm gonna talk to the people real quick. Everyone, I hope you all have enjoyed Dan Sneider. Make sure you follow him at intimacyshift.com. When we get off the phone, I want you to send me the link to make sure I have the exact same thing so I can put it on Facebook and
Mhm.
YouTube and everything. But I tell you all every Saturday before I get out of here, I love you, but what's most importantly, God loves us. I always tell you to love on your loved ones while you have a chance. We never know, and we experienced that this week for the first time with the lab. So until next week, it's Thanksgiving. It is no show. I might come on and pop up live and just see how everybody's day is going, but it's no show next Saturday. Then after that, Ingrid and I will be down for our first Saturday sit down. So you all have an amazing Thanksgiving. Get all the yummy food in your tummy. Continue to work out because our health is our wealth. So you can have a cheat day, but get right back on track after that. So until next week, I love you and you all be blessed. Dan, thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you,
All
Brandy.
right.
This was
You have a good
wonderful.
one. This was awesome. Thank you so much. Bye bye.